Welcome to Illuminating Catholics, podcast of the Diocese of Sioux City. I'm Dawn Prosser, Director of Communications for the Diocese. Together with Carmen Bauer of the Faith Formation Office, we will shed light upon topics of faith in the modern church. Our guests include Catholic clergy, religious sisters, and other experts in their fields to help us understand what's happening in the church today. We will explore issues, even the tough ones, and to find answers to common questions about Catholicism. Thank you for joining us for today's Illuminating Catholics, shedding light to understand the modern church. Welcome back to the Illuminating Catholics podcast. I'm Dawn Prosser, Director of Communications for the Diocese of Sioux City.
And I'm Carmen Bauer, and I'm the Director of Faith Formation.
We're so pleased to have you all joining us for yet another episode. We're so appreciative. Just last week, you probably noticed, we started marketing a new workshop that we're going to be offering through a partnership between the diocese and Carolyn, Klika, Catino. She's founder of Abounding Ministry. She is a certified Catholic divorce healing coach, and she's going to be leading the Build a New Life workshop for divorced and separated Catholics. And we're so fortunate Carolyn is with us today for the podcast, and she's going to share more information about this ministry and the workshop. We do want to note that it kicks off on January 22nd. So if you want to participate, the time is now to register, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So a big, hearty welcome to Illuminating Catholics to you, Carolyn.
Thank you, Dawn and Carmen. I so appreciate all your good work on behalf of separated and divorced Catholics who need the support.
Well, we are so excited about this partnership as well and the opportunities it presents for those in our diocese. But before we jump into your ministry and the upcoming workshop, we'd love to get to know you a little bit. So, Carolyn, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Sure, Carmen. Well, I was born in Chicago to a loving mother and an agnostic father. And by the time I was 6, my dad had left our home, and I never lived with him again. But significantly, when I was young, my mother got a knock on her door, and Father Lawrence from the local parish came to ask her if she was interested in leading the devout life. And he explained that that meant living your life completely for Christ. And she had a radical conversion. She started going to daily Mass, praying the daily rosary, and she introduced me to Jesus. And that faith became the greatest gift of my life. And I always felt that when God knocked on the door and had a call on my mom's life, that he also was calling me, because that knock came on my 2nd birthday. And so, growing up, my siblings eventually left home, and so I was left alone with just my mom. And I became a latchkey kid at 9. And I so longed for a father's presence, the kind of family that I saw my friends have and I dreamed of having. So I desperately wanted my children to grow up in a loving family with a father present. And in college, I met a healthy Catholic man, and we married, and we were hoping to build that dream family that was happy, healthy, and holy, really. But unfortunately, things weren't right from the very beginning, although we were blessed with 3 wonderful children and later adopted 2 more from Russia. And they were blessings. But for 30 years, I cared for an ill husband who never was able to work again after the first 5 years. And so I raised our children. And for 20 years, I ran a Catholic sales, marketing, and distribution company to support the family that grew to 50 employees. And our clients were 40 Catholic publishers like Ascension, Ignatius Press, Word on Fire, and many others. And we launched Catholic programs like the Great Adventure Bible Study by Jeff Cavins. That's the one that grew into Bible in a Year with Father Mike Schmitz that just about everybody knows about. And during this whole time, I never considered divorce, even when marriage became more caretaking than partnership and was very, very difficult. But divorce was never an option for me because I believed, and I still do, I believe in the lifelong sanctity of marriage. And so just kept on, keep on keeping on, despite the struggles. And then after 30 years, my worst nightmare came true. My husband's struggle with gender identity disorder led him to choose going forward in his life presenting as a female, and it led to our divorce. And in 1 month, I lost nearly everything: my marriage, my home, my business, my stability, my pets, my community, just about everything. And it was a time of the deepest, darkest devastation. And yet, in that darkness, God's presence never left me. And He accompanied me in such a close way. He taught me many things that through that period of separation and divorce, and that I learned later, those things were for me, to help me, but they were also meant for so many other people. And as I would share some of these things, thinking that everybody knew them, I found out that they did not. And so God's grace really carried me through that grief and that loss and helped to move me into profound healing. And part of that healing was an annulment process that was appealed all the way to Rome, from the diocese to the archdiocese to the tribunal in Rome. And that was a season of patience, trying to grow in surrender and submission to God's will.
Oh, wow, Carolyn, what an incredible few minutes of just listening to your testimony. Just from the very beginning, God has called you to Himself and has given you the grace, and how beautiful that now He's brought you to the point where you can serve Him and serve your brothers and sisters in Christ with the gifts He's given you. And so through all that, is that kind of what led you to establish Abounding Joy Ministry?
So the mission really of the ministry, there are two parts. So Abounding Joy Ministry walks with Catholics facing marital struggles, perhaps discerning divorce, those separated, going through an unavoidable divorce, or trying to heal from divorce. And we offer Christ-centered support and guidance, and then practical tools to help heal hearts, to restore marriages when possible, and to foster spiritual and emotional healing and renewed life, not only for the spouses, but for their children as well. And essentially, it's to try to create the best outcome for each person experiencing marital strife, separation, or divorce. And the second part of that is working to ensure that every Catholic parish and diocese is equipped to provide that accessible and compassionate and theologically grounded healing support for separated and divorced Catholics, keeping them connected to Christ and His Church.
And as you've developed this ministry, did it kind of start small and grow organically, or from the beginning did you know that you wanted to have that big vision of assisting parishes and dioceses?
Great question. God never gives us too much to handle at one time. So I started Abounding Joy in 2017, and I didn't have the vision, the size of the vision that I have today, but I started out realizing how much support that I and so many others need during separation and divorce. And as that mission and calling from the Lord grew clearer, I founded Abounding Joy. It was a calling and a mission that He put on my heart to minister to those in pain and those who need guidance and healing. And the Church offers so many tools, and they need to be packaged and delivered in a way that people can receive and really make use of in their own particular challenges. And they need the truth, but packaged in love. And so for the last years, this has been my calling day and night. I have expanded the vision as God has revealed new parts to me.
Fantastic. And you alluded to this before, how the theological soundness of, your materials and your approach is so important. What kind of value do you think that brings to the world? That it's not just, there's this secular vision of healing for people, but also an invitation from Christ's church.
Yeah, Carmen, it's so important. It's extremely important that really any resource that we offer is in alignment with the church, because the church has so much to offer us. There's three dynamics that occur to me. One is the church holds the authority from Christ, handed down through the apostles to the Pope today. So the church is the solid rock that we can rely on. We can't rely necessarily on our own emotions or our own thoughts or our opinions. Everybody has an opinion, but they're not all as informed. And secondly, the church has the wisdom down through the centuries from the fathers and the doctors of the church, and church teaching that's clarified for us in the catechism and canon law. And rather than being restrictive, it is freeing, so that it's like guideposts to keep us on the right track when we don't know where to go. And thirdly, we have from the church the lived experience of the saints in modeling for us virtue through suffering. And that's more than any one of us can offer on our own. And so it's, we might be right in our opinions or we might be mistaken, but the teaching of the church is eternal. And so we want to cling to the solid rock that is Christ.
It's so wonderful that we're able to, that Carmen found you, or you found each other, that we're able to offer as a diocese something that our parishioners, our faithful know that, yes, this is grounded in church teaching and theology. Because I think we know there's a lot of confusion regarding divorce and where the church can come in and help. So we're so grateful that you did say yes and take on this ministry. So let's talk a little bit about the Build a New Life workshop. And it's part of the Abounding Joy ministry. It's going to help our parishioners navigate through this journey through separation and divorce. So this would be a great time for you just to tell us a little bit about what this is and what it offers for our people.
Yeah, Dawn, Build a New Life workshop is the program that I would have wanted for myself when I was going through separation and divorce. And it's a 12-week online Catholic support and healing program. It's for those before, during, and after divorce. It's to help guide participants to navigate grief and all the variety of emotions, to rebuild their lives, and to grow spiritually, emotionally, and interpersonally. And it offers not only the spiritual guidance and support and accompaniment, but also the practical tools that we need, because we know God says, for example, love your neighbor. Well, what does that mean when my spouse is hurting me and repeatedly in this way? What does love look like in that situation? And that application of practical tools is part of that. And why it's so needed is because a third of adult Catholics divorce. And, there's no Catholic divorce, but Catholics do have civil divorces. And we need guidance. 1 in 5 divorcing Catholics leave the church. It's a silent exodus that needs intervention. The divorce rate has skyrocketed since no-fault divorce. And divorce ministry is needed because the church is called to be a field hospital for the wounded. And we need to prevent spiritual isolation, and we need to support healthy discernment, so that it's not the culture, the secular culture, that's informing our decisions. And so this 12-week program is, we meet on Zoom for 90 minutes. We have time for prayer, for sharing with each other, which is so important, getting to know others who are walking the same journey that we are. There's a teaching segment that I give on that week's theme that corresponds to the companion workbook. I was going to hold it up, but I know we're just on audio, that gets mailed to their home. And there's group coaching and support so that each person can get answers on that particular theme or on any topic that they're dealing with right then. And we help each other with our shares, with a deep developed friendship from a commonality, and they receive encouragement and support. And that group becomes a community of trust and support and friendship.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something that, as we were looking through our notes preparing for this, if someone feels intimidated or concerned about sharing their personal situation, that this is a protected and safe space for them to be part of that.
Yeah, I would say to them, be not afraid. And some people do feel scared to join because it's a risk that you don't know exactly what it will be like for you. One gentleman from the Midwest, he had been bullied a lot by his wife and by others, and so he came in very tentative. And I said, I can't guarantee exactly what your experience will be because it's partly what you make of it, but I can promise that the experience will be completely respectful and kind. And he joined us, and afterwards he said, I came in scared and angry, but it was like my hand was taken and put into the hand of Jesus, and my life has been transformed. And I've watched that man just bloom like a flower opening, bringing out his leadership skills and his confidence. It's really changed his life. And one thing that can help people who are questioning, is this for me? There's a Is This For Me? Build a New Life Workshop info session on my YouTube channel. And it gives you a detailed overview of what to expect. And it includes a group of alumni who come back and share their transformational experiences. It's just so inspiring to see the growth and the changes that they've experienced. And lastly, on that, I would say, you should join because not be afraid, because it really works. The average participant reports an 8 of 10 pain level at the beginning and a 3.5 of 10 afterwards. And so God does a mighty work through the workshop.
Can you share, because I see a lot in the marketing materials, and a lot of what's said about the program is receiving tools to help you deal with your journey. Can you, without giving the whole program, share a little bit about what those tools might be and how that can help people going on this journey?
Yeah, definitely. So they get 100-page, full-color, beautiful companion workbook, and in that there are not only there's content for them to read, but there are exercises, there are activities. So for example, we don't just talk about forgiveness. We actually have exercises that help people process. There's a forgiveness assessment that they can do on their own. There are exercises that, they hear the teaching segment and then they go to the workbook, and there are things that they can do on their own and ways that they are guided to pray into the particular places that they're struggling in. And again, it's very holistic. So we are body, mind, soul, and spirit. And so it addresses all of those various dynamics that we as humans are.
Thank you for that. I did want to note that this program has been shared in other dioceses, been vetted by a canon lawyer. So just kind of repeating that all this is kosher, so to speak, with the Catholic Church. And we are one of many dioceses working with you, thankfully. Since we are partnering with you for Abounding Joy, there are some generous discounts if people are concerned about what the cost. And we'll put the information in our show notes, but do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, and Dawn and Carmen, my thanks to you and to the diocese for your care and support for those struggling with separation and divorce. And yes, the diocese is partnering with Abounding Joy to cover a big part of the cost of the workshop for you. And you just need to enter the discount code when you register. And I will say, no one is turned away due to finances. I'm looking for people to join who want healing and are ready and want to receive that from the Lord. And there are payment plans to make sure everyone who needs healing can access it. Feel free to call me with any questions. I'm happy to answer them. And the codes, as I understand it, will be on the link, and they're on your web page, which is beautiful that you've laid out.
They're everywhere. We're putting them everywhere. We want people to have access to the links to get onto everything and be part of this wonderful program. Again, it launches on January 22nd, right? Mm-hmm. And is at 7 o'clock?
That's 7 p.m. Central
Time.
It's Thursdays. It's 12 Thursdays in a row. We skip Holy Thursday. So mark your calendar. Feel free to send me an email, Carolyn at aboundingjoyministry.com. Happy to answer any questions. And just to say that the healing you receive, whether you're before, during, or after divorce, is largely dependent on you taking the step, because God's healing is there for you. And this is a program that helps to bring that, up close and personal for you. So you deserve the help and the support and the healing. We're in a season of neediness, like after a car accident. It's what it's like. And we don't think anything of going with the into the ambulance, being taken to the hospital and being ministered to by the doctors and nurses. We think, yeah, we deserve that. I have a broken leg. I need to get a cast. And after divorce or before, we are the walking wounded, and we need others to come alongside us and to give that healing and that support. And that is what is now available for you.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. And we want to encourage people. You don't have to worry about childcare. You can do this from your home or office, whatever is convenient for you. So that's kind of a wonderful thing with technology today. We don't have to worry about that component of it, especially if there's different custody situations and you do have the children that night or whatever your situation might be. So we do encourage people to take a look at the landing page. We'll put a link in our show notes, but it is scdiocese.org/divorce. So check out all of the great content the Office of Faith Formation has in there, and sign up before the 22nd. That's coming up just in a few days.
Yes, and I would just encourage those who are listening, don't be afraid to share this information. In fact, we would appreciate, every share on social media or any text or every text and email that you can send. Because even if your life is not one where you've experienced divorce, we all have friends and family members who might be suffering silently, and sometimes we feel helpless and don't know what to do. So just your help getting the word out, I think, can be so instrumental in people hearing about this opportunity. And then I'd also invite people to visit Carolyn's website, because the Build a New Life workshop is just one of many dimensions of her ministry. So I would encourage that as well. So thank you so much, Carolyn, the founder of Abounding Joy Ministry, for sharing your healing work with us and for leading our parishioners through the 12-week Build a New Life workshop. We're just hoping that people throughout our diocese, throughout the country, really do take advantage of this opportunity. And we encourage those hurting from a separation or a divorce to consider registering today. The workshop begins on January 22nd. And thank you all for listening to today's Illuminating Catholics and learning more about the Build a New Life workshop. New episodes of our podcast drop each Tuesday wherever you get your podcasts, the Diocese of Sioux City YouTube channel, or at lumenmedia.org.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Illuminating Catholics, shedding light to understand the modern church. Follow us for more episodes on topics of the Catholic faith. For more diocesan news, visit lumenmedia.org.